Right, for more on the Madlanga Commission, we're joined by SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga, who's been following that commission. She joins us live from Pretoria. Good afternoon to you, Canny. We've just listened to Major General Lesetja Senona detail his relationship or lack thereof when it comes to controversial businessman Cat Vusimuzi Matlala. He spoke quite at length about not being involved in leaking sensitive information and also revealing the details behind a major drug bust. Talk to us about some of the highlights.
Indeed. Good afternoon to you, Paul, and to the viewers at home. What you've just seen is that Major General Senona, that is Lesetja Senona, the KZN Hawks head, has given his version to the very serious allegations he's facing with respect to the alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Cat Matlala and him allegedly enjoying a close relationship with him. So his defense in response to the allegations that he allegedly leaked those documents to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, sensitive SABC information, by the way, and of course the allegations relating to his son having a property transaction with Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. What he starts off by stating is that we're seeing evidence where a lot of the witnesses who are implicated in this evidence will give evidence that seeks to distance themselves quite far from the alleged cartel member or the alleged implication that has been made before the commission. However, the extraction of the WhatsApp exchanges sometimes paints a different picture from what the witness is trying to paint before the commission. So an example of that is that we're hearing evidence of Senona stating that how he met Vusimuzi Cat Matlala was at his traditional wedding, and how we understand it is that his wife has a relative who was dating him at the time, and it is in that context in which he tries to say it is a social manner in which they would relate and not that of a KZN Hawks head and an alleged cartel member who is alleged to be engaging in a criminal drug syndicate. And of course we know that the KZN Hawks head, or at least the DPCI, would be key to the fight against drugs or that kind of criminal element across the country. So he states with respect to that transaction that we've seen in the WhatsApp exchanges that wasn't completed, and we know it was noted in phase 1 of the evidence, that we're seeing a conversation between Twato Senona and Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, that is the son of Lesetja Senona, who is stating that they're talking about a particular property that they need to purchase. However, in the WhatsApp exchanges, it is not clear whether that transaction was completed or not. What we're hearing from his father, Lesetja Senona, is that this was a business deal between the pair that he has no interest in, and he states that the transaction wasn't completed and they actually weren't able to buy the property for the construction company. However, the difficulty with that particular evidence is that in the WhatsApp exchanges, even though Senona now is stating that he was just the father of Tato Senona and he had no business interest in this particular deal that him and Vusimuzi Cat Matlala were working on, in the WhatsApp exchanges, he specifically texts Vusimuzi Cat Matlala to ask him, have you spoken to Tato? And it is in reference to this particular property that they were discussing at the time. So what it infers, or rather what it looks like, is that allegedly the property was being purchased for Senona, allegedly through his son Tato. So that is the inference that is being drawn from that particular evidence. And what is being stated is that it was an alleged undue benefit, or rather a form of gratification for the assistance in those contracts that Vusimuzi Cat Matlala was enjoying with SABC, and the assistance that came from Senona allegedly in that regard. So you're seeing a witness deny most of the serious allegations against him regarding this improper benefit that he would have enjoyed with Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. However, the difficulty is that the patterns shown in Vusimuzi Cat Matlala's behavior and his interests also paints a different picture. Another example of that is the disbandment letter. You may remember that the directive was issued on the 31st of December. However, it wasn't circulated amongst the high-ranking SABC officials. How majority of these individuals learned of this development was through social media. If I remember correctly, when it went public, it wasn't something that sent shockwaves through the nation, because at the time the context behind this directive wasn't clear to the public. However, it is clear from the inner circles of the criminal justice system, that is the South African Police Services, the NPA and KZN, and the PKTT members themselves were quite interested in this latest development because it seems at the time that they had more information regarding the disbandment. And it is only in July when the nation would learn about the allegations surrounding the PKTT disbandment. Now you're seeing a message where Lesetja Senona sends the disbandment letter to Vusimuzi Matala. And the question that is being posed there, even though he's saying that the relationship is one of a social nature and it wasn't a KZN Hawks head interacting with an alleged cartel member, he seems to suggest that he had no idea that Vusimuzi Matala had an interest in the PKTT or its disbandment rather. And he can't seem to explain why he would send a disbandment letter to a quote-unquote friend that he did not know had an interest in the matter. Now, it's known that at the time, the PKTT would have been giving Matala a bit of a hard time because they were showing up at his home doing raids at his business premises where he conducted Cat VIP security, and that they were actively investigating him at the time. So there's a difficulty in closing that gap for Senona in why he chose to send this particular disbandment directive letter that was leaked on social media to a person that he says he didn't know about his criminal elements or alleged criminal dealings, and that he did not know that he had an interest in the PKTT. But I'm sure that at 2 p.m. this afternoon, when the cross-examination starts by Advocate Adila Hasim SC, that is when we'll get a clearer picture regarding the version of Senona. And of course, where there are gaps, we expect that the evidence leader will be able to close those gaps, and where there are any possible discrepancies in his version, the evidence leader will be able to close that too. We expect all that and more at 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Very well. Thank you very much. Our reporter Canny Maphanga there with the latest from the Madlanga Commission at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria.